With us is Meredith Jones, Director of Family Support and Clinical Services with Transitions Life Care. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, tell me about yourself. It's a very impressive title. What do you do?
Yeah, so I am privileged to get to lead a group of social workers, spiritual care counselors, bereavement services, and volunteers around helping to support people around end-of-life challenges, the practical needs that emerge, and a lot of the emotional complexity that oftentimes arises as we're supporting people at that time of life.
Well, I know how traumatic that moment in life is for the patient and the family members. What is it that you initially do? You talk to them at first and then assess them, and then it sounds like you have just a boatload of services to offer them. So what is it that they can take advantage of?
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head. We really try to start by just listening really closely. I think every situation, every family situation is just really unique. And so when we come in, we really just try to meet the family where they're at, understanding that every situation is so different. So when we're listening closely, we're really trying to understand what matters most to this person. Are they concerned about the practical needs? Are they worried about getting their affairs in order? There's a lot of complexity around layered relationships, and many of us have lots of different ways that we relate to our loved ones. And so I think when we're coming in, we're really kind of coming in without any preconceived ideas of what a person may be needing or looking for, but really just trying to understand what's important to them in that moment.
I think a lot of people believe that hospice is a place you go to die.
Sure.
And I know that is an end-of-life event we're talking about, but
Sure.
you spend a lot of time in the home as well.
Absolutely.
How do you help a family cope with someone in the home? Maybe somebody with dementia or another illness that requires them to also have some medical skills. I mean, do you help in that way?
Absolutely. I think a lot of what we try to do is to break things down into really simple and understandable steps. You know, what's happening with my loved one? Why might they be more irritable? I'm trying to get them to eat and they don't seem to be wanting to eat the things I'm making for them. Is that normal? A lot of times I feel like caregivers are looking for reassurance that they're doing things correctly,
Right.
if there's things they could be doing better to support their loved ones. I think people really want to show up in ways that are meaningful. But it's hard to know what that looks like. And if you've never really walked through the process of end of life with someone, and even if you have, everyone's so different. And so oftentimes the illness itself might be making behavioral changes, or someone, as their illness is advancing, they're not able to engage in the ways that you're accustomed to. So a lot of what we're doing is really trying to help people to make sense of the behaviors that they're seeing and the changes they're seeing, but then also to look ahead. For some, they're worried about, I still have to work. I'm still trying to navigate taking my children to soccer practice or dance or whatever they may be doing. So a lot of it is their own healthcare needs. They may be worrying about, am I going to be strong enough to turn my loved one in the bed? And so as we really listen to what's important to them, I think we begin to tease out exactly what resources and skills might be helpful for us to assist them with.
The family is so important, but obviously it's the patient, right?
Sure.
Ultimately. And you've been doing this a while. I mean, what is that like? And what is the process like for them? Accepting and the stages they go through and how you help that individual get to, I don't know if acceptance is the word, but I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think when we talk about individuals, we're as unique as our fingerprints, right?
Yes.
None of us are the same that way. And I think people oftentimes tend to die very similar to the way they live. So if you were a verbal processor and someone who talked about your thoughts and feelings and what's going on, it's not uncommon to see someone really looking at wanting to have some deep discussions to really reflect on life and meaning. Other times people are really focused on their family's needs. You know, there's someone who really took a lot of pride in being a provider, setting up affairs so that things are easier for their loved ones later on. Every now and again, people have really fractured relationships and they're really looking at maybe is there an opportunity to heal, or I haven't had a conversation with someone about these things that I'm kind of recognizing now are really impactful. And so a lot of it is just really trying to understand how they want to spend this time and giving them opportunities. I think it's helpful for them to think ahead about what might change as their illness is progressing. Some people may think, well, I'll have that conversation later on.
Right.
And so sometimes it can be helpful to help them understand medically what may be happening, what kind of symptoms might they experience, so that they can prioritize their time and do the things that they enjoy. Like a lot of times hospice is really about life and living and making the most of the time we have left.
Now, I know you sign a team, basically, in essence, to that individual and that family. I don't know how you guys do that because it's a bonding moment. It's got to be a bonding moment for you guys as well. Explain a little bit what that's like for the family and the patient, the kind of team they're going to be, working with.
Yeah, I think it's really an honor, truthfully. Those of us who go into hospice work or really gravitate towards end of life care really have a desire to make a meaningful difference. We want this to be a time where people can still find meaning and hope, and that hope might evolve and change. And so I think our team, whether it's the spiritual care counselor or the volunteer that's getting assigned, we really just try to, again, look at what is going to bring that smile. We have pet peace of mind. We have lots of different ways that our volunteers will come and get engaged with the patient around their service. Some of our hospice patients may be veterans or may be looking to really honor different aspects of their life or different chapters. So sometimes they're worrying about their grandchildren and leaving legacy work. So our team might come alongside and help them to think about things that they may want to do now that they can leave sort of that legacy for the next generation, or things that are important to them, lessons learned, so to speak. We oftentimes engage in sort of memory-making activities. I think that's a big part of what people are oftentimes looking to do, is how can I engage with my loved ones in a way that's going to help them later on as things progress.
For the folks watching this morning, are there questions they should be asking of an organization like you, but even themselves when they're in that situation?
Yeah, I think, when we think about asking, it's human to need help. I think we oftentimes view asking for help as the last option. If I've completely exhausted myself, I've got nothing left in my tank, then I might look to someone else for support. I would really encourage people to know that it's really human. It's a connected time, and that we all go through end of life. Everyone will have this season, and so looking for support, leaning on others. It's not always about what we say, but just sort of allowing yourself to show up for people. When our loved ones are diagnosed, it may be really scary. We may not know what to ask. So we really invite people to call. We have a caregiver support team that will really be there to kind of answer calls that are coming in. Are you trying to figure out how much information do I share with my children or my grandchildren? Am I ready for this service? What should I be asking my doctor? How do I hire in care? How do I afford care? There's a lot of things that I think can come forward. So I really just encourage people to not feel like they need to do it alone, and to really allow themselves to lean on the supports that I feel like Transitions Life Care really takes a lot of pride in trying to make available at no cost for those calls, that phone a friend. It's really a wonderful thing to be able to know you can pick up and to get knowledgeable resources and trusted care.
I mean, that's wonderful. And I would suspect sooner better than later.
Absolutely.
Make that call.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful what you do. And I'm so glad you could join us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And we got more, so stay with us.